Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into something a little more mysterious than your unread email inbox. The Roman Empire, at the exact moment it realizes one of its legions has just vanished, not reassigned, not on lunch break, gone, fully lost, like socks in a dryer. Except each sock is 5,000 heavily armed men with matching helmets and serious opinions about olive oil. This is the story of the lost legion that helped redefine Rome's borders, not by conquering new lands, but by disappearing so hard that historians are still arguing about it 2,000 years later. So before we drift off into foggy forests and bureaucratic panic, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy this sort of thing. No pressure. Leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Somehow, it's always midnight. Your phone is on 4% and you swear you were just going to listen for 5 minutes. Now dim the lights, turn on a fan, get comfortable and let your shoulders drop. Maybe loosen your jaw. You're safe. You're not about to be conscripted. Probably. Let's start with a few questions. Have you ever been so confident at work that you marched directly into a situation you were wildly unprepared for? Ever followed orders that didn't quite make sense, but you figured Rome probably knew what it was doing? What would it feel like to be stationed at the very edge of the known world, surrounded by rain, mud, and people who absolutely do not want you there? How long would you last without proper supply lines, decent weather, or anyone back home answering your messages? And now, congratulations. You've just woken up as a Roman legionary. It's early morning. Your armor is damp. Your sandals are already soaked. You are somewhere north of civilization, and the year is around 117 CE. Rome thinks you're fine. History is about to disagree. You begin your story inside the orderly, paperwork-loving heart of Rome, where senators believe the world can be managed with maps, scrolls, and aggressive confidence. From here, legions are moved around like chess pieces, each one numbered, labeled, and absolutely expected to exist forever. No one imagines a future where a legion simply stops answering roll call. That would be ridiculous. Rome does not lose things. Rome inventories them. You wake up to the sound of sandals slapping marble and someone arguing about taxes before breakfast. This is Rome, a place that smells faintly of olive oil, incense, and ambition. The city hums with the quiet certainty of people who are very sure they're in charge. Everything here has a form, everything has a title, everything has a place in a very large, very self-satisfied filing system. Somewhere nearby, a clerk is unrolling a scroll longer than your attention span. Names of legions march across it in neat columns, numbers, locations, supply allocations. There is comfort in this list. The list is truth. If it's written down, it exists. If it exists, it behaves. This is how Rome sleeps at night. You can almost hear the senators reassuring themselves. The empire stretches from warm beaches to damp places nobody wants to retire to. But it's fine, completely fine, because it's all documented. Borders are lines, people stay inside them. Problems get smaller when you write them down in very confident handwriting. Let's talk about Roman confidence for a moment. This is the kind of confidence that sends an army across half the known world and then acts surprised when the weather changes. Rome assumes that if something hasn't gone wrong yet, it never will. It's the ancient equivalent of not backing up your computer because it's been working great for years. In the Senate, men in expensive robes gesture dramatically over maps that simplify entire cultures into vague green blobs labeled mostly handled. Someone suggests moving a legion north. Someone else nods without looking up. Another man clears his throat and says something reassuring about discipline and order. No one asks uncomfortable follow-up questions like, what's actually there? Or do they want us there? Or have you seen the weather? Rome believes in systems. Systems are soothing. Systems mean you don't have to imagine chaos. Somewhere in a storeroom, helmets are stacked neatly. Spears are counted. Rations are measured out with mathematical optimism. If each man receives this much grain, and each mule carries that much equipment, then nothing unexpected can possibly happen. This logic has never failed Rome before, provided you don't count all the times it absolutely has. You, of course, are not part of these meetings. You are a name on a scroll, a tiny scratch of ink representing a man with sore feet and opinions that will never be asked for, and that's fine. Rome doesn't need your thoughts. Rome needs your availability. From this distance, war looks clean. It looks like arrows on parchment and tidy arrows pointing outward. Expansion is just a matter of drawing the line a little farther next year. No one draws the part where the line gets muddy or cold or angry. And here's the thing Rome never writes down. People are not symbols. Forests are not empty spaces. And confidence does not keep you warm at night. But those details don't fit neatly into a spreadsheet, so they're ignored with professional enthusiasm. As the sun sets over the city, Rome feels eternal, unshakable. The paperwork is complete. The legions are accounted for. Somewhere far away, boots will soon start marching because a scroll said so, and you haven't even left yet. That comes next. You are part of Legionime Hispana, a unit with a long resume and an even longer sense of pride. This legion has fought in Spain, marched across Gaul, and survived civil wars fueled entirely by ego. You wear your insignia like a LinkedIn endorsement. You are experienced, you are disciplined, and you are about to be sent somewhere that does not care. Being in the 9th means something. You don't have to say it out loud, but everyone knows. Other legions look at you the way coworkers look at someone who's been with the company since before the office had a printer. You've seen things, you've done things. You've marched through places where the sun tried to kill you and people threw sharp objects with real emotional commitment. Your armor is dented, not decorative. Your shield has been repaired so many times it's mostly memories and optimism. And yet when you line up, there's a quiet confidence that settles over the formation. This is not your first rodeo, or your second, or even your 7th poorly planned campaign. Let's talk about pride for a moment. Roman military pride is not loud. It's not cheering or chest thumping. It's quieter than that. It's the belief that you will outlast whatever is in front of you. Mountains, rebels, bureaucratic incompetence, especially bureaucratic incompetence. You drill every day. The movements are automatic now. Lift, step, thrust, block again. Your body knows the routine, even when your mind wanders to things like warm bread or how nice it would be to sit down without permission. Discipline is muscle memory. Thinking is optional. Around the camp, stories circulate. Spain was brutal, they say, but at least it was warm. Gaul was chaos, but predictable chaos. You fought men who charged loudly and died dramatically. There was a rhythm to it. You could plan around that. Britain, though. Britain is spoken of differently. Lower voices, longer pauses, too much rain, too many trees, people who don't fight the way they're supposed to. You laugh it off, of course. Barbarians are barbarians everywhere. Rome has a system for that. You trust the eagle's standard carried at the front. That bird has seen worse than this. You trust your centurion, a man held together by scars and stubbornness. You trust the legion beside you, because trusting them is easier than trusting Rome's distant assurances that everything is under control. At night, you sit by the fire and sharpen blades that don't really need sharpening. It's something to do with your hands. Someone complains about pay. Someone else complains about the weather even though you're not there yet. There's always one man telling the same story about Gaul like it just happened yesterday. You feel prepared. That's the dangerous part. Preparedness is comforting. It lulls you into thinking experience is armor against surprise. The 9th has never failed before. History has rewarded that belief so far. But somewhere beneath the pride, there's a flicker, a small, unhelpful thought you push away, the kind that arrives when orders are vague and maps get fuzzy at the edges, the kind that wonders why Rome keeps sending the same experienced legions farther and farther away, like it's testing how much loyalty can stretch. Still, when the call comes, you fall in. You always do. That's what makes the 9th the 9th. You don't question the destination. You shoulder your pack, adjust your helmet, and step forward with everyone else. You're not worried, not yet. After all, you're Legionime Hispana, and legions like yours don't just disappear, right? You march north into Britain, a land Rome insists is conquered despite all available evidence. The roads get worse, the weather turns personal. The locals look at you the way you look at a surprise work meeting. Every step away from the Mediterranean feels like stepping off the edge of a Roman brochure into damp uncertainty and sheep that seem quietly judgmental. At first, the road behaves: stone slabs, straight lines, that familiar Roman promise that civilization follows wherever boots land. But soon the road begins to improvise. Stones loosen, mud fills the gaps. The careful geometry of Rome starts to blur into something more like a suggestion. You still march in formation, because that's what you do, but the ground no longer seems interested in cooperating. Welcome to Britannia, where the sky is low, the rain arrives sideways, and summer is more of a rumor than a season. Your cloak is damp by mid-morning. By afternoon, it has given up entirely. Everything smells like wet wool and determination. Let's talk about the weather. This is not dramatic weather. There are no grand storms to sing about. It's worse than that. It's persistent, a slow, unending drizzle that seeps into your armor, your boots, and eventually your soul. You don't get soaked, you get resigned. The farther north you go, the quieter it gets. Towns thin out, villas disappear. The reassuring signs of Roman order, baths, forums, places to sit down, become rare, then vanish. Instead, there are forests, too many forests, trees packed together like they're hiding something, which you begin to suspect they are. The locals watch you from a distance. They don't shout, they don't charge, they just stand there, wrapped in cloaks, blending into the landscape with unsettling efficiency. They look at your polished helmets and bright standards with mild curiosity, like you've shown up overdressed to the wrong party. You start to notice how loud you are. Armor clinks, shields knock. Hundreds of men moving together announce themselves, whether they want to or not. The forest absorbs the sound and gives nothing back. It feels like being watched by something that knows exactly where you are and has decided to be patient. At night, the camps are quieter. Fires sputter in the damp air. Smoke hangs low, refusing to rise properly. Someone always complains about the cold. Someone else says this isn't cold, this is just inconvenient. No one believes him. You dream of dry places, of sunlight that actually warms you instead of reflecting off clouds. You dream of roads that go somewhere familiar. When you wake, your boots are still wet. Rome said this land was conquered. You try to imagine where that conquest is hiding. There are no cheering crowds, no grateful subjects, just hills that roll on forever and paths that seem to lead nowhere in particular. It's hard to feel victorious when the land itself doesn't acknowledge you. Supplies take longer to arrive. Messages come back vague. The map you're following becomes increasingly abstract, like it was drawn by someone who heard about this place once, secondhand, during a bad dinner conversation. And yet you keep marching. That's the thing about Roman legions. You move forward even when the destination feels theoretical. You trust that Rome knows what it's doing, even when Rome is very far away and comfortably dry. Each step north feels heavier than the last, not because of distance, but because of uncertainty, the sense that you're walking towards something Rome hasn't fully accounted for, something that doesn't fit neatly into reports or victories. The road, such as it is, continues, and the map, somewhere back in Rome, ends just a little sooner than you'd like. Stationed near the frontier, your days blur into drills, repairs, and waiting. You build forts out of wood that immediately regrets being cut down. Supplies arrive late. Letters from home arrive never. Rome feels very far away now, like a manager who promised to circle back. You start to realize that being the edge of empire mostly means being the edge of patience. Your mornings begin before the light does. Someone shouts, someone else groans. You pull on armor that never quite dries, leather stiff with yesterday's rain, and the day before that. The fort creaks as if it's unhappy with its own existence. Timber walls swell and warp in the damp, making doors that used to close properly into philosophical suggestions. Let's talk about fort building for a moment. In Rome, forts are solid, stone, confident. Here, you build with whatever trees you can bully. Into cooperation. You cut them down, stack them up, and pretend this counts as permanence. The wood responds by rotting quietly out of spite. You patch it, you reinforce it, you stop making eye contact with it altogether. Drills fill the day. March, turn, lift shield, lower shield, again. The repetition is comforting. Muscle memory is easier than thinking. Thinking leads to questions, and questions lead to the uncomfortable realization that no one has explained how long you're supposed to be here. Meals are functional, grain, porridge, something that might have once been meat. You eat because it's there, not because you're excited. Around you, men complain softly because loud complaining feels like tempting fate. Someone jokes that if the enemy doesn't kill you, the food might. Supplies are always just about to arrive. Any day now. Definitely soon. You hear this so often it becomes a lullaby. When wagons finally do show up, they're lighter than promised and missing the one thing everyone wanted. There is never enough salt. There is always too much optimism in the accompanying paperwork. You write letters home because that's what you're supposed to do. You describe the weather in a way that doesn't sound like a cry for help. You say you're fine. You say Rome knows what it's doing. You never hear back. Either the letters don't make it or the replies do and simply choose not to arrive. You stop checking after a while. The frontier has a sound, wind through trees, distant water, occasionally something that might be a bird or might be someone reminding you they're there. You learn to listen without reacting. Overreacting wastes energy. Underreacting gets you killed. There's a balance Rome never quite trained you for. The locals remain distant. You see smoke in the distance, paths that appear and vanish, signs of life that retreat the moment you move toward them. It feels intentional, like you're being studied. You begin to understand the control here doesn't look like banners and speeches. It looks like silence. At night, you sit by the fire and stare into it, longer than necessary. Flames are predictable. They behave the same way every time. You talk less. When someone laughs, it's sharp and brief, like a tool you don't use often anymore. Rome, in your memory, becomes unreal, marble, sunlight, noise, a place where things arrive when promised, and walls don't grow mold. You wonder if it's changed, or if you have. Probably you. This is life at the edge, not glory, not disaster, just endurance stretched thin. You're not fighting, you're not advancing, you're holding a line that exists mostly on maps and in someone else's confidence. And holding, you're starting to learn, can be harder than marching. Tomorrow will look exactly like today, which somehow makes it heavier. The tribes beyond the frontier are not impressed by your armor or your Latin. They know the land, they know the weather, and they definitely know how to disappear into forests that feel designed to swallow marching formations. Every interaction is tense, every silence louder than a trumpet. You are beginning to suspect that Rome's maps were optimistic. You first notice it in the way they look at you, not with fear, not with awe, with assessment, like you're an inconvenience that wandered too far from home. They stand just outside bow range, relaxed, unhurried, as if time itself is on their side, which, uncomfortably, it is. These people don't line up to fight, they don't announce themselves, they don't care about your formations or your standards, or the impressive way you can all turn left at the same time. They watch, they wait, they melt back into the trees the moment you try to engage, leaving behind nothing but footprints that suddenly stop making sense. Let's talk about the forest. This is not a Roman forest. Roman forests are managed, trimmed, mildly intimidated by straight roads. This forest is alive in a way that feels personal. Branches snag your cloaks, roots grab your boots, visibility drops to nothing in seconds. It's like the land itself is quietly rooting against you. You start to feel very large, very loud. Your armor clinks no matter how carefully you move. Your shields knock together. Even breathing feels conspicuous. The locals, meanwhile, move like ghosts. You hear them before you see them, and then not at all. When there are encounters, they're brief and unsettling. A few figures appear on a ridge, a shout in a language you don't understand, a spear thrown more as punctuation than attack. And then nothing. No follow-up, no chase, just absence. It's deeply unsatisfying, which might be the point. You're used to enemies who want something obvious. Territory, revenge, glory. These people want you gone, not defeated, gone. There's a difference, and it takes a while to sink in. Back at camp, the tension lingers. Men speak in lower voices. Jokes don't land the way they used to. Someone sharpens a blade that's already sharp. Someone else swears they saw movement near the tree line and gets told to stop imagining things. He doesn't look convinced. Rome taught you how to fight armies, how to besiege cities, how to win battles that follow rules everyone agreed to beforehand. No one taught you how to fight people who don't want to fight you at all, people who are content to let the weather do half the work. You begin to understand that the locals don't need to defeat you in a single moment. They just need to exhaust you, delay supplies, disrupt patrols, make every movement feel unsafe, make you question every shadow. It's not war as Rome understands it, it's erosion. Rome's maps show clear boundaries, lines, controlled areas. Here, control is temporary and mostly imaginary. You might hold a hill during the day, only to abandon it by night, because staying feels like tempting something unpleasant. The silence becomes the hardest part. You'd almost prefer a charge. At least, that would make sense. Silence leaves room for imagination, and imagination is rarely kind when you're tired, cold, and far from home. You start to respect them, whether you want to or not. Their patience, their restraint, their refusal to engage on your terms. It's infuriating, it's effective, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a thought settles in and refuses to leave. Rome may have conquered this land on paper, but the land and the people who belong to it do not seem to agree. And agreement, you're learning, matters more than maps. One day, orders arrive. March north. Investigate unrest. Restore order. It's vague, confident, and completely lacking in helpful detail. You pack up, fall into formation, and do what legions do. Somewhere behind you, the last solid road ends. Somewhere ahead, history starts sharpening its knives. The orders come on clean parchment, which feels insulting given the amount of mud currently living in your boots. The handwriting is neat, calm, assuring. Whoever wrote this slept indoors. You can tell by the optimism. There's no mention of distance, no mention of terrain, certainly no mention of what unrest actually means. Unrest could be a riot, or a rebellion, or three men looking at you funny from a hill. You don't debate it. Debate is for people closer to Rome. You tighten straps, shoulder packs, and reform ranks with the quiet efficiency of men who have learned that hesitation only makes things worse. The eagle standard lifts. Someone mutters a joke that doesn't quite land, and then you're moving again. At first, the march feels familiar. The rhythm returns, step, step, step. But the road thins quickly, dissolving from stone to gravel to something that feels more like memory than infrastructure. Eventually, even that gives up, and you're following a path that may or may not be intentional. It's hard to tell. Britain has a way of pretending it never agreed to be traversed. Let's talk about Roman orders for a moment. They are designed to sound decisive, not to be helpful. Restore order assumes order was ever established to begin with. It assumes the locals want restoring. It assumes you'll recognize success when you see it. Rome loves verbs. Rome is less interested in definitions. The farther north you go, the quieter everything becomes. Birds vanish. The forest closes in. You start to notice how the sound of your own movement carries too far. Every snapped twig feels like an announcement. You slow down. The formation tightens. Shields shift from resting to ready. There's a strange comfort in movement. Waiting was worse. Waiting left too much room for thinking. Marching gives you direction, even if that direction feels suspiciously like away from safety. You tell yourself Rome wouldn't send you somewhere truly impossible. Rome has standards, procedures, a spreadsheet somewhere with your legion's name still confidently listed. The land changes subtly as you move. Hills rise where maps suggested flat ground. Marshes appear without warning. Streams widen into obstacles that take longer to cross than planned. Every delay stretches supply lines thinner, but no one says it out loud. Saying it would make it real. At night, camps are smaller, fires are dimmer, orders are whispered. You post extra watches, not because anything has happened, but because nothing has. Silence presses in, thick and deliberate. You feel like you're intruding on a place that noticed you the moment you arrived. Someone asks where exactly you're headed. The centurion repeats the orders, slower this time, as if that might reveal hidden meaning. It doesn't. North is not a destination. Unrest is not a target, but the words are enough. They always have been. You begin to sense that this march is different. Not dramatic, not obviously doomed, just off, like a story that's lost its narrator. You're moving through pages that haven't been written yet. Behind you, Rome fades into abstraction. Ahead of you, the land offers no reassurance. Only space, only trees, only the steady feeling that you've crossed a line no one bothered to mark. But you keep marching, because legions don't stop halfway through orders they don't fully understand. You trust that clarity will come later, that context will catch up. History, as it turns out, is rarely that considerate, and the road is gone now. This is where things blur. You move deeper into hostile territory, forests closing in, visibility shrinking, nerves tightening. There are no eyewitness accounts, no heroic last stands carved in stone, just absence. Rome waits for reports that never arrive, pay that never gets claimed. A legion that simply stops existing, like a file deleted without confirmation. The days stop feeling distinct. Morning and evening blend together under the same gray sky. You march, halt, adjust, march again. The forest presses closer now, branches leaning in like they're listening. The path, if it was ever a path, narrows into something only 1 or 2 men wide. Formations compress, order becomes effort. You start to notice the small things, how conversations trail off mid-sentence, how men check the tree line 1 extra time before sitting down, how jokes disappear entirely, replaced by practical questions no one can answer. Where exactly are we? How far north is this? When do we turn back? Let's talk about uncertainty. Rome hates it. You live in it now. Orders no longer arrive. There's no courier riding up with clarification, no scroll explaining the next step. Just forward. Forward because stopping feels worse. Forward because turning back without instruction feels like admitting something no one wants to say out loud. The forest changes again, thicker, darker. Sound behaves strangely here. A snapped twig echoes too loudly. Then not at all. You swear you hear movement, but when you stop, there's nothing. The silence is deliberate. It feels curated. Men go missing in small ways at first. A scout doesn't return on time. A patrol comes back short 1 man, and no one is entirely sure when it happened. You tell yourself these things happen. Rome has procedures for losses. This is manageable. But the losses don't behave like battles. There's no clash, no clear enemy, just subtraction. 1 less voice at roll call, 1 less shield in the rack. The numbers change quietly, without ceremony. At night, sleep becomes shallow. You wake often, convinced you heard something. The fires are kept low. Smoke clings to the ground instead of rising. It feels like even the air is trying not to draw attention. You realize slowly that there will be no dramatic moment, no trumpet blast signaling disaster. Whatever happens here will not announce itself. It will unfold the way rot does, gradually, invisibly, thoroughly. Somewhere far away in Rome, clerks continue their work. Scrolls are updated, accounts balanced. The 9th is still listed, still paid, still expected. The system hums along, unaware that the numbers no longer reflect reality. Out here, the forest doesn't care about your name or your history. It doesn't care that you marched across continents to get here. It doesn't care that Rome thinks you exist. The forest only cares that you're tired, loud, and far from help. And then, nothing. Not a final moment you can point to. Not a last stand worthy of retelling. Just a point where the story stops being recorded. The march continues in theory, but not in memory. Rome waits. Weeks pass, months. Someone notices the silence. Someone asks why no reports have arrived. Another person suggests a delay. Weather, bandits, administrative error, all reasonable, all comforting. Eventually, the truth becomes unavoidable. A legion has not returned, not reduced, not defeated, gone. But out here, there is no moment of realization, no announcement. Just exhaustion giving way to inevitability. You don't know you're becoming a mystery. You don't know historians will argue about you. You just know the forest is still there, and Rome is very far away, and the march, officially, never comes back. Back in Rome, someone finally checks the roster. The silence is inconvenient. A missing legion is not just a tragedy, it's an accounting nightmare. Rome doesn't announce the loss, it quietly adjusts. Borders are reconsidered. Walls suddenly sound like a good idea. Confidence develops a crack. It starts, as most Roman realizations do, with paperwork. A clerk pauses mid-scroll, stylus hovering. A number doesn't line up. Reports from Britannia are thin, not alarming, just absent. No triumphs, no complaints, no requests for more grain, which frankly is suspicious. Legions always complain about grain. A supervisor suggests patience. Couriers are slow, weather probably. Britain is damp. Damp delays everything. Someone nods, relieved. The ledger remains unchanged. The 9th is still there. Officially, weeks pass, then months. Pay sits unclaimed. Replacement orders don't get answered. A governor sends a carefully worded inquiry and receives nothing in return. Silence becomes harder to label as a delay. It starts to feel like something else. In Rome, silence is unsettling. The city runs on noise, debate, commerce, argument. Silence suggests absence, and absence suggests loss. Loss suggests vulnerability. And vulnerability is not a word Rome enjoys. There is no announcement, no public mourning, no speeches about sacrifice. Rome does not do panic. Rome does discretion. The 9th simply stops being mentioned as often. Its name appears less frequently in correspondence. It drifts to the margins of reports, then off them entirely. Behind closed doors, maps are unrolled again. Fingers trace borders that once felt secure. Someone clears their throat and mentions terrain. Another person suggests the locals might be difficult. This is said as if it's a new development. Decisions are made quietly. Reinforcements are sent elsewhere. Expansion pauses, not officially, just practically. The idea of pushing farther north loses its appeal. There are already enough problems closer to home, problems with clearer solutions. And then someone suggests a wall, not immediately, not dramatically, just as a concept, a practical measure, a way to define things more clearly, to keep order where order can be maintained. The room hums with reluctant agreement. Walls are defensive, sensible. Walls admit limits without saying the word out loud. Confidence doesn't shatter. It thins like marble worn smooth by centuries of hands. Rome still believes in itself. It just believes a little more cautiously now. The loss of a legion forces uncomfortable questions. If a unit like the 9th can vanish, what else might? Rome prefers problems it can see, enemies with banners, rebellions with leaders. This is different. This is a gap where certainty used to be. So Rome reframes. The story becomes one of strategy, not loss. Of consolidation, not retreat, of wisdom earned through experience. Official language smooths over the absence like plaster over a crack. Out in the provinces, commanders are advised to be careful, to fortify, to report regularly, to avoid unnecessary risks. The tone shifts subtly. Rome still expects obedience. It just offers fewer guarantees. And the people, the citizens going about their days beneath temples and arches, they don't notice much. Bread is still baked, water still flows, the empire still feels eternal. Most never hear about the 9th at all. That's the thing about Rome. It absorbs loss by redistributing it. A missing legion becomes a footnote, then a rumor, then a scholarly problem for later generations. Life goes on, it always does. But somewhere in the empire's collective mind, a boundary has been drawn, not on a map, in instinct. Rome has felt the edge of its reach and stepped back without admitting it. The silence did its work, and Rome, for the first time in a long while, listens to it. In the years that follow, Rome stops pushing north. Not officially, just practically. Fortifications strengthen, ambitions shrink. The absence of the 9th becomes a lesson written in negative space. Here be limits. You don't need a defeat if a disappearance does the job just as well. You feel it even if no one ever says it out loud. The tone changes. Orders become more cautious. Language shifts from expansion to stability, from conquest to management. Rome still talks big, of course. Rome always will. But the marching arrows on the maps don't creep forward anymore. They pause, they hover, they decide they're fine right where they are. Let's talk about borders. Rome loves borders when they move, when they're dynamic, growing, swallowing the horizon. Borders that stop, though, those make people uncomfortable. Oh, stopped border suggests negotiation with reality. And reality, as it turns out, is not impressed by titles or marble building. So instead of advancing, Rome builds. Forts become sturdier. Roads are reinforced, but only where they already exist. Garrisons are told to hold, not probe. Patrols stay closer to home. The emphasis is on defense, though no one uses the word. Defense sounds reactive. Rome prefers terms like consolidation and optimization. You, hypothetically, are not marching north anymore. You're standing watch. You're repairing walls. You're counting supplies more carefully than before. The work is quieter, less glorious, more permanent. You start to sense that Rome has accepted something it doesn't want to admit. The absence of the ninth lingers like a shadow you don't step into. No monument marks their end, no official day of remembrance, just a subtle recalibration of expectations. Rome behaves like someone who touched a hot stove and now pretends they meant to move their hand anyway. Hadrian's Wall, though you don't call it that yet, begins as an idea rooted in restraint, a line drawn not to advance power, but to contain it, to say, this far is enough, beyond this is cost, beyond this is uncertainty, beyond this is silence. You notice that Rome stops talking about what's north of the line. It becomes vague territory, barbarian land, unproductive land, the kind of place that doesn't justify the paperwork. This is how empires cope. They redefine relevance, and yet the fear isn't loud, it's procedural. Rome doesn't tremble. It adjusts budgets, reassigns legions, rewrites objectives. It moves forward everywhere else instead. East, south, places where the ground feels more cooperative. The border that won't move becomes a kind of unspoken agreement between Rome and the land. You stay there, we stay here. No formal treaty, just mutual exhaustion. If you're honest, there's relief in it. Pushing north never felt right. The land resisted in ways that didn't make sense on a battlefield. Holding a line feels manageable, predictable. You know where danger starts now. That knowledge has value. The disappearance of the ninth becomes caution distilled, a reminder that not all losses arrive with noise. Some arrive quietly and change behavior forever. Rome didn't lose a battle. Rome lost certainty, and that loss reshapes everything. So the border holds. Year after year, generation after generation, new soldiers arrive who never knew a time when pushing north was even discussed. To them, the line simply exists. It feels ancient, natural, as if it was always meant to be there. That's how limits work. Once accepted, they harden into tradition, and somewhere beyond that border, the land remains unconquered, not by force, but by patience. The map no longer grows there, and Rome, at last, stops trying to make it. You, the legionary, fade into rumor. Maybe you fell in battle. Maybe you were absorbed, scattered, survived in pieces. History never decides, and that uncertainty lingers, soothing and unsettling at once. Rome marches on, but more carefully now, haunted by the knowledge that even an empire can lose track of itself in the dark. There is no ending written for you, no final entry neatly scratched into a scroll. You do not get a statue or a speech, or even a satisfying explanation. You simply stop appearing, and in a world that loves records, your absence becomes louder than any inscription. Somewhere, years later, a scholar squints at a list of legions and notices a gap. He assumes it's a copying error. Another historian proposes a theory, an ambush, a massacre, a disastrous decision made by a commander whose name no one remembers. Someone else suggests you were reassigned, absorbed into another unit, your identity diluted until it vanished. All of them sound confident. None of them know. You become a question mark with armor. Let's talk about historical silence for a moment. It's tempting to think that what isn't recorded didn't matter, but sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes silence is what's left when something refuses to fit the story. Rome liked its history bold and legible, victories carved into stone, defeats reframed as learning opportunities. You offered neither. If you survived, it wasn't as a legion. Maybe you settled, maybe you adapted, maybe you stopped being Roman in any official sense and started being something else entirely. A farmer, a trader, a story told by a fire that begins with, "My grandfather once marched with men from the south." Or maybe you didn't survive. Maybe the forest took you one by one, patiently, without drama, no final stand, no moment where anyone realized this would be remembered, just exhaustion, hunger, confusion, and the quiet closing in. The unsettling part is that all of these can be true at once. History doesn't choose, it shrugs. Back in Rome, your disappearance becomes a footnote, then a debate, then a curiosity. Students centuries later argue about dates and inscriptions, never quite sure when to stop talking. Your fate remains unresolved, and that unresolved quality gives you a strange power. You are the reminder that certainty is a luxury, that even the most organized empire on earth could send thousands of men into the world and never quite get them back. Not in body, not in memory, not cleanly. Rome continues, of course. It always does. Roads are built, laws are written, emperors come and go, but somewhere deep in the institutional memory, a hesitation remains, an unspoken understanding that the world beyond the map does not owe explanations. You become a legend made of quiet, not heroic, not tragic in the way songs prefer, just unresolved. And unresolved things tend to linger. When soldiers later stand watch on the northern border, staring into forests they're told not to enter, they don't know your name, but they feel something, a sense that this place has history without stories, that pushing farther once led to nothing returning. That feeling is you. You exist now in the space between confidence and caution, between ambition and restraint. You are the reason orders get double-checked, the reason borders harden, the reason Rome pauses just a little before assuming the world will behave. And in that way, you are never entirely gone. You are the legion that taught an empire how to hesitate, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to matter. And then, as legends do, you settle back into the dark, quietly, patiently, waiting for someone to notice the silence again. So tonight, as you settle back into your own bed, with walls that don't leak rain, and borders that aren't defended by tired men in wet sandals, take a quiet moment to think about that lost legion, not as a mystery to be solved, but as a long, gentle exhale in the story of history itself. You survived a day on the edge of the Roman world. You marched through mud that never quite dried. You followed orders that grew quieter the farther you went. You learned slowly and without ceremony that even the biggest powers on earth have limits, and that sometimes those limits are discovered not with trumpets and speeches, but with silence. The men of that legion didn't know they were redefining borders. They didn't wake up thinking they'd become a footnote, a rumor, a scholarly argument whispered over books and coffee 2,000 years later. They just woke up cold, sore, and loyal, doing what people have always done, showing up, trusting the system, and hoping tomorrow would make a little more sense than today. And in their quiet disappearance, Rome learned something it never forgot, that the world doesn't always bend, that maps are suggestions, that control has edges, sometimes sharp ones. So as you drift off now, wrapped in clean sheets, surrounded by soft noises instead of war horns and wind through trees, maybe whisper a small thank you to the people who lived before modern comfort was even a rumor. People who endured confusion, fear, and uncertainty without ever knowing how their story would be told. Because history isn't just triumph and conquest, it's also missed reports, unanswered roll calls, and the strange comfort of knowing that even empires had nights where they stared into the dark and realized they'd gone as far as they could. Rest easy. Rome will still be there in the morning, and this time you don't have to march anywhere at all.